Let's dig into this biblical Hebrew conundrum that I found some 30 years ago. You can follow along with me by going over to unlockbiblemeaning.com, and you'll arrive at a page like what you're looking at on the screen. Then, under References, the book Genesis, chapter 2, and verse 25, and then click on Go. And we come to this verse at the very bottom here, and they were both naked. The both referring to Adam and Eve. We go to the next verse, chapter 3 and verse 1, and here we can read, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field." I'm not going to go any further to remain focused on what I found, as I said, some 30 years ago. Now, I was actually reading this in the interlinear, and you can read it in the interlinear if you want. But it was there that I noticed that the words naked and subtle are identical in the Hebrew. Now, to show you this today, I'm going to actually go up here and switch to the Strong's Concordance. And so in Strong's Concordance, we see the exact same verses. They were both naked. And here we see that naked is actually the Hebrew reference H6174. So I'm going to click on that, and these references will display in the right-hand column. And when I come down to Genesis 3, verse 1, the serpent was more subtle. This is the number 6175. So you can see that these two numbers follow each other. Now, when you look at the Hebrew, and even if you can't read Hebrew, you can see that these four letters for naked are identical to the four letters for subtle. And in fact, the only difference is in the third letter. We're reading from right to left. The dot here is above the vav. That's the name of this third letter. And here it is in the middle. And that's what gives it the different sound. This one is arom, which you can see here with the transliteration. And this one here is arum. But the four letters are identical. And what I want you specifically to see is that both of these words come from H6191. Both naked comes from this, and subtle here comes from H6191. So I'm going to click on this, and we'll see that this here is actually the primitive root. Now, the primitive root is the most basic construction of a word. And if you look at this three-letter construction, you'll see that these three letters are identical to the above two words, except, of course, for that vav, that third letter, that is missing, because it is used in this circumstance as a vowel. Now, when you come down here, and in all of these Strong's Concordance references, you're going to find KJV. KJV is simply the translations, the various translations that were used by the original translators for this particular word. So Aram, in various places in the Old Testament, is translated by beware, take crafty counsel, be prudent, and deal subtly. So here we see the King James for this arum is subtle, as we saw, and arom has only got one translation, and that is the word naked. So what is interesting here is to see that we have one basic word, aram, that is translated in one instance by naked, and in a second instance, in the very next verse, by the word subtil. And when I saw that, which you can't see in translations, but you can see it in the biblical Hebrew, I was just amazed, and I couldn't quite figure out why, especially when I later found out that there are 7 Hebrew words that are translated naked, and 3 other Hebrew words that are translated subtle. And so my question was, why did the author use the same word in 2 verses that follow one another? And that is something that I tried to figure out, and that actually took me months to figure out. Because in one sense, the author was, if we invert this, the author is saying that Adam and Eve were subtle, and the serpent is naked. Now, when you think about a naked serpent, it's quite ridiculous. And to me, something was missing. Something in the comprehension wasn't there. And it's this study method that I'm going to be showing you that helped me find the answer to this, because there is an answer, and a very interesting answer.